My goal for this video is that by the end of it, you know how to fix your back pain, anyone else's back pain, and you can quickly pinpoint it safely and get on a route for progression. So let's take a look. Low back fix with 6, because there's 6 movements that I found to this day have fixed low backs every time you get each point done. But the trick is getting into it smoothly and how do you progress. So this is a very unique type of program. It starts with Jefferson curl. And this is very specific when it comes to Jefferson curl. So if someone has low back pain, this is the first place to start. And I'm talking about starting with your own body weight. So you would put your feet together and you would tuck your chin, roll your shoulders, and then think about rounding your spine and going down. On average, people will feel a stretch back here, that's fine. Don't force it, just relax. Don't lean back, actually keep the weight on the balls of the feet, not the heels. So once you're at a point where you feel like that's the deepest you can comfortably get, then slowly think to strengthen up with your lower back, keeping it rounded. So keep it rounded by squeezing the glutes and then back up to the top. And you would do 10 reps with a 30-second pause on the last rep. This is critical because I don't want you pushing too heavy. And in fact, a lot of people will already start getting rid of back pain just by strengthening this with body weight alone. I mean, when it comes to weights, just imagine a girl has big tits and she does a Jefferson curl. That's the same as me doing weight. So body weight, you're still lifting a lot of weight. So lifting your own weight, okay, if you're overweight, that's even more weight. Basically, when in doubt, just start this with body weight. See if you can do that. You'll probably already feel it working, already feel your back start feeling better. Here's where the program gets really strategic. If this is not super comfortable and easy, that's all you do for the day, and then you come back the next day and you do it. So when in doubt, you do this 7 days in a row. With this entire program, when one thing feels good, then the next day you would try the next thing. This is a really patient program for people with bad backs. We're talking about fixing maybe years of back pain. So this would be Monday, and if that felt good, then this would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Or if that was Monday and then that didn't feel good, you'd go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, until it felt good enough to then go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you want to be able to do one day of each. But if one step in this chain, this is in order. If one step does not feel good, you just stay. So when in doubt, you go back and forth on the ones you can do, and you keep starting over, and you keep going down. The split squat is the same way. And just to clean up the Jefferson curl, if it feels good and you want to add some weight, you can. If your hands or the weight starts actually running into the floor, you can see here, you can stand. You can simply stand on something. And if you're doing it right, the weight won't be here. The weight will be out in front of your toes. So this is where it starts. And then with the split squat, same exact thing. The 10 reps with a 30-second pause on your last rep ensures you don't go too heavy. The reason split squat is number 2 is because modern lifestyle leaves us with chronically tight and weak hip flexors. So most people, even if they work out really hard with weights, everything, squats, deadlift, it's all here and it's never stretching back. So with the split squat, we're talking about fully covering the front hamstring without the heel lifting and without the back knee touching the floor. So the leg stays like that. So you're feeling that stretch there. Again, start body weight, trying to open up those hip flexors. What's interesting, this isn't just a hip flexor stretch. You're strengthening them in the lengthened position. So again, even if you do a lot of good low ab work and hip flexor work, that's part of the equation, but that's really just a finishing touch. And if they're weak in the extended position there, then you're more likely to throw out your back. So that 30-second stretch, you're just holding this position. You're thinking about lengthening that back leg the entire time, and then you have to stand up on your own. So you could add some dumbbells to it. You could work down the box, but to simulate here, if you try to go too deep too soon, you're going to end up in a weird position on your back. So if you can do flat ground, that's great. But if to get down into this flat ground position, if you're having to change the form, don't do it. Elevate as much as you need to. When in doubt with low back pain, elevate more and really keep that form good. Then we get to the QL extension. Similar to the Jefferson curl, It's possible that to do this pain-free, you'll have to put your feet together and just reach out to the side. And just reach out to the side. So this would be the lowest level, would be just staying on a plane, not leaning forward, but reaching there. So you can see what's happening as we start going through these 3 exercises. We start getting strong and flexible here and with our Jefferson curl, and we can extend back. So now the back from those 3 exercises alone, it starts to get a lot more protected in any of these ranges where you can hurt yourself. Now, if standing is not a problem and doing that exercise, then use one of these machines if you have it. If you don't, then you can add weight standing. This will simply give you even greater gravity against you. So if you look at my torso, right here there's no weight. As we go this way, it gets heavier, heavier, heavier from my own weight. So in the stretch position, it puts the most load on me. So if I'm doing a standing version, it's not putting as much load on me. So you'd have to add more weight to a standing version to feel the same amount of actual load on the quadratus lumborum. So pay close attention to how far do I stretch, how strong am I on one side versus the other side. Very common with lower back issues that you'll find one side can reach farther than the other side, or one side stronger than the other side. So these 3 movements really start getting you on the road to your lower back feeling really good. Then you start adding single leg back extension in, because what this does is it rebalances the posterior chain. So the hamstrings, glutes, and lower back, you can even stay right there and look at it here. You're doing this in a very specific alternating style where you take one leg, you go down, you come up, keeping the leg straight. You want to really extend there. This would be cheating by bending the knee, but you're also not trying to hold right here. You're actually trying to extend as hard as you can. Then you bring the other leg in, down, squeeze the glute, extend the low back, switch. So you're really under control. And since you have to alternate over time, it's going to rebalance the strength between sides. You're not going to be able to have one side stronger than the other. And just from that, imagine a squat or a deadlift and one side stronger than the other, or sprinting or jumping can even hurt your low back. One side being stronger than the other. Of course, if you can't even go like that without pain, if you're weak like this in the Jefferson curl, anything in life is a risk for your back. That's why Jefferson curl is number 1. Same thing if those hip flexors are super duper shortened. So if the Jefferson curl is weak and the hip flexors are shortened, you're at great risk at all times. Same with QL, because like even this, like to carry this, I noticed to carry this over, how do I pick this thing up and carry it over? It's kind of awkward. I realized gripping under here, but look at that angle. Look at the angle of my body. I'm having to go Jefferson curl, QL. So people actually very commonly hurt their lower back, not just picking something up like this, but being in a rounded position or having to rely on the QL. So once we get to back extension, we're talking about even greater degrees of protection by evening things out. So your goal is to be able to go back and forth 10 on each. But I say goal because a lot of people with back pain might not realize how weak they are in the extended position, especially if they're tight on the split squat. So if those hip flexors are shortened, then you probably haven't even been working your lower back in the position that fights gravity all day to improve your posture. So you may not have even been working your lower back in that extension. So don't be surprised if it's very tough. Don't force your way through 10 reps on each. So that's a total of 20 reps. One side, go to the other side. It's tougher than it sounds. So that's why I say it's a goal. Could you add weight? Yes, you could. And if you did, it would be best in this case to hold dumbbells. And by holding dumbbells, when you go down, you can bend your arms and still get that full stretch position. And then at the top, you can let your arms relax. And it adds the weight in that position, trust me. So that's how you would hold dumbbells if you did. Now we're getting into even further layers of protection, because if you're training with ATG, odds are you're trying to build up to being able to squat and deadlift and jump as high as you can and explode as far as you can. And even in life itself, the tighter you are on the seat of good morning, now you end up rounding when you shouldn't even have to round. So this is a really interesting one we're talking here about the flexibility of the adductors. So say I was going to pick something up, like it would be very natural out in the wild to pick something up like this. Well, you should be strong enough in your lower back that you can pick it up like that, but you also shouldn't be so tight that you can't, when you start to pick it up, that you can't start extending your lower back. So the seated good morning basically carries over to every deadlift that you do, being able to keep that arch, to every squat that you do when you come out of the bottom position, to not have to excessively round. And again, as I said, like in life, they should be flexible and strong in this position to extend, but they might be so tight that they're just putting excessive strain on the low back. So that's why this one is further down, but now we're really getting into like the bulletproofing category. And that's why I consider this one like actually the strongest bulletproofer. And if we look at this one, you'll see I'm going to start with the super light bar. You want to go ahead and start as light as you need. And I'm going to show you the common mistakes on this. Number one is going too wide. Keep your legs in just wide enough for your torso to slide between your legs. And don't have your heels behind your knees, otherwise you can cheat with your quads. The heels are just in front of the knees. The legs and the feet are just wide enough to allow the torso to come into the middle. You would not want to hit a tight point and keep rounding. You'd be trying to arch that lower back, but it should be a real challenge to arch. It should be challenging you to arch by stretching those adductors, those inner thigh muscles. But now we're getting a perfect isolation. It's taking the legs out of the equation. So unlike a squat or a deadlift where you can get into trouble, now we're perfectly isolating the strength of that lower back in that arched position. And this is 3 sets of 20. It's just high reps, really trying to work it, thinking of every rep as a stretch. I put these right here because the biggest mistake is using too low of a bench. If you use a low enough of a bench, anyone is going to look tight on this exercise and not really be able to isolate their lower back. So for someone who is taller, or if you have any consideration at all that maybe you're rounding too much, make the bench a little bit higher and you'll see it's actually less degree of stretch. So lift up your bench a little bit. Another option is you could put one mat under your butt and you could put another one there and try to get your abs to it. So those are the 2 ways. I'll use some combination for my athletes when starting out. Almost everyone when starting out will use some combination of elevating either on top of the bench or elevating the bench itself so that we can get that isolation of the strength in this position. Long term, any of these exercises could be used at more extreme weights for performance reasons. But at the base, with the low back fix with this, we're talking about using only enough to start training the quality pain-free. If you can start training these qualities, you're gonna find there's nowhere you can go with your lower back and get into trouble. You can't get into trouble anymore. So the seated good morning is a key part. You wouldn't want to stop right there and then jump back into squats and deadlifts. You would want to make a big improvement on your mobility and strength in the seated good morning. And there's a lot of muscles involved, so don't be surprised. Even though 20 seems like a lot of reps, you're actually going to be able to work up over time decently strong for that. Then the finishing touch, if those hip flexors are weak, you'll end up in life in positions where instead of using the hip flexor, if you can't get it up anymore, you'll crouch, you'll put too much strain on your lower back. So that's why the finishing touch is protecting us by actually making that hip flexor strong. So this is a really easy one because you don't need anything special behind you. All you need is a cable and a strap. You put one around your foot, you slide back just far enough the weight's off the pin, the other foot plants, the hands plant, and then you're just in a nice isolation right here, thinking to squeeze that hip flexor. It's a great movement. It's so simple, and you actually train the strength of it and can progressively overload it. It's not just some dinky isometric drill or something like that. So that's the low back fix with 6. In addition to this, you'd want to make sure you're really good at 2 different stretches. And these can be done every day. So even if you went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and took Sunday off, you could still do these. Monday, Tuesday, you can do both of them every day. Here's what we're looking at to be specific. Elevated pigeon chest down is the one I found most related to lower back. Elevated means I'm lifting up the glute. Lifting up the glute, and you can use even more elevation if you need. It makes the stretch a little easier, but even the most advanced guy can really dig into the stretch like this. So it lifts my hips up so that I can put more weight forward. You want a perfect 90 degrees here. You want to extend the back leg as far as you can, and then you want to reach your torso down onto that thigh. Get your hands comfortable. How do you think I answer all my DMs? I'm not kidding. I just sit there like this. And then what you do to make it harder over time, keep reaching deeper, but start moving this way. So keep extending that back leg. Maybe you start out and maybe you're like here at first, and then as you can start getting deeper, extending, and then you start moving your elbows over. And that's why we find as a test, you should be able to get your shoulder. So I'm not sitting in the stretch like that. I'm just sitting here chilling out. It's a 3-minute long stretch. Just relax. You shouldn't be in pain or stressing and straining to go too far. Find a relaxing spot. Over time, it'll stop feeling enough of a stretch and you'll gradually work your way over. So basically, by being able to get in close in that position, then in life when I'm in any kind of twisting motion through here, this is flexible enough that I'm not now putting excessive strain on my lower back. So these are ones that I've just found out from people doing them and getting good at them, that it tends to lead to their back feeling really good. So just like that's a relaxing stretch that you chill out in, couch stretch also will be. Now if you do couch against the wall, it's not very relaxing. The angle of it makes your front leg actually work really hard just to stabilize you. So bench couch, you'll take a pad and you'll elevate your foot depending on your height. So in my case, just regular, just a bench on the floor. Works perfectly. I just put a pad out there. This is another one of my favorites because I sit there on my phone relaxing. Now, you might put your heel to your butt and go, oh, I don't feel a stretch. Let's look from this angle right here so we can see this. I'm not feeling any stretch here. That's not how this stretch works. Then right here, I'm actually feeling a tremendous stretch. So what's the difference? Instead of relaxing there, we're trying to stretch the opposite, the antagonist muscles to the lower back. So we actually want to squeeze the glutes. Keep the glutes locked. Don't avoid it that way. Open up this way, lift, and then I can, by keeping the glute lightly contracted and by putting gentle pressure that way into the bench with my foot, I can lock in and just feel a nice stretch. And I'm keeping, try to make that tummy flat. If you're just here, then you're not actually stretching there as much. So it's kind of like the pigeon version. You're finding a relaxing stretch, but you're using some little tricks to just hold a nice, comfortable stretch. When it comes to like a daily stretch of long duration, you should not be in like some crazy stretch position. It should be something where you feel the stretch, but you can actually relax into it. So what this is doing, opening up on the other side, I'm balancing out all those hours of sitting at the computer, driving, whatever it may be, shortening up those hip flexors. We're trying to do the opposite and get them to relax and open up. So these are your daily stretches that you can do. I'm not saying you can't do more stretching than this, but if you just follow this plan, you will be hitting the 6 different areas that I've found, and I've never found any outliers for. You will be tight or weak or on something in here if you're having lower back issues. Again, any of these principles could be applied. You could take a super elite athlete and you could find that, oh, they're tight on the split squat and that's why they're having back pain. Or you could take someone whose main issue in life is their back pain and you could just work them on this exact program where you're able to recover because you're literally just doing 3 sets of something a day relating to that low back. But trust me, 6 weeks, even if you did this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for 6 weeks, you would have just done like a total makeover on your low back. So I hope that can help you. These 6 movements are the ones that I found. If I find anything different, I will be sure to update you, but at the moment, that is how I fix lower backs.